Most of the water was splashed onto Ethan, cold water poured over my head, and I shivered miserably under the stunned gazes of everyone in the cafe. Ethan, my husband, personally threw a glass of water in my face, all because Chloe coquettishly said, "Sister, I think you misunderstood me." The disgust in his eyes stabbed into my heart like a needle, while Chloe stood behind him, wearing a triumphant smile. "Today is our wedding anniversary. He asked me to come to the cafe where we had our first date." I thought he had finally remembered something, but to my surprise, who showed up was him and his good sister Chloe. Chloe was wearing the same dress as my favorite one, and on her wrist was the limited edition bracelet I had long envied. It was something Ethan had specially brought back, yet it was on her wrist. "Olivia," Chloe's voice was sickeningly sweet, yet carried a barely noticeable hint of provocation. "Don't be mad. Ethan and I are just siblings. You are his rightful and legitimate wife." She said this, affectionately linking her arm through Ethan's, her head gently resting on his shoulder. I looked at Ethan. He didn't push Chloe away, not even showing the slightest displeasure. "Ethan," I said with a trembling voice, "don't you have anything to say to me?" He frowned, his tone impatient. "Olivia, what are you trying to cause this time? Chloe isn't feeling well, don't scare her." It felt as if my chest had been struck hard by a heavy hammer. I picked up the glass of water on the table and, without a second thought, splashed it at Chloe. Chloe screamed and hid behind Ethan. The next moment, Ethan grabbed my wrist with a force as if he wanted to crush my bones. He pulled me, dragged me, and in front of everyone in the cafe, slammed me hard into the decorative fountain at the entrance. "Olivia, get a grip," he shouted angrily, his voice cold and piercing. "If you dare lay a hand on Chloe again, it won't be this simple." The icy water instantly soaked through my clothes and extinguished the last ridiculous flicker of hope in my heart. Around me were whispers of pointed gossip, and Chloe's suppressed, triumphant sobs. I felt like a clown. No, not even a clown. Ethan roughly pulled me out of the pool, soaking wet, and shoved me into the car. Without a word the whole way, he took me back to the villa filled with our once sweet memories. Then, like throwing away a piece of trash, he threw me into the basement. With a bang, the door was locked. Darkness swallowed me in an instant. This basement was the deepest nightmare of my childhood. I never expected Ethan to use it to punish me. Before long, the door lock clicked, and Chloe walked in carrying a glass of water, her face showing an innocent yet pitying expression. "Olivia, don't blame Ethan. He just cares about me too much." She placed the glass of water in front of me. "Actually, I've been wanting to tell you a secret." She leaned close to me, her voice low and tinged with a strange excitement. "Do you know? I am the real daughter of Mom and Dad. And you, Olivia, you're just an imposter who stole my place. If I hadn't gone missing by accident back then, you wouldn't have had a chance to enter our family. Mom and Dad have always been cold to me. When I was little, they always said I wasn't as well behaved and sensible as the missing sister. Later, they simply cut ties with me, blaming me for driving my sister away. Even when I begged desperately, they never softened. I was stunned. I always thought it was because I wasn't good enough, but it turns out, I was unnecessary from the very beginning. My parents have been looking for me for many years," Chloe continued, her tone filled with pride. "They never gave up on me. Now that I'm back, everything that belongs to me, I will take it all back, including Ethan." So, this was the truth. I looked at her and suddenly found it all very laughable. Ethan, once, when I was falsely accused of stealing by my classmates and isolated by everyone, only Ethan stood by my side, firmly saying, "Olivia, I believe you." His trust was like a light, illuminating my dark world. Later, he proposed to me, saying, "Olivia, marry me, and I will give you a home that will never abandon you." Because I loved him, because of the light he once gave me, I rushed to him without hesitation, thinking I had found my salvation in this life. Unexpectedly, this was only the beginning of another abyss. Chloe seemed quite pleased with my desolation. She then hypocritically said a few words like "reflect well," and left. The basement fell into dead silence once again. I don't know how much time had passed before Ethan finally opened the door. He looked down at me from above, his eyes filled with complexity. "Chloe accidentally fell down the stairs," he said coldly. "She said you pushed her." I suddenly looked up. "I didn't. I've been right here the whole time." "Is that so?" He sneered coldly. "Then why did she say it was you?" I was at a loss for words. Just like when I was a child, no matter what happened, as long as Chloe cried, All the blame was on me. Ethan gave me no chance to explain and locked me once again in that basement filled with the shadows of my childhood. This time, it lasted longer, dark, damp, and cold. I curled up in the corner, waves of cramps coming from my lower abdomen. This child, I once had such high hopes for, thinking it would be a turning point in our relationship. But now, blood is flowing down my thigh. I am pregnant. I desperately pound on the door, shouting Ethan's name. My consciousness gradually fades, and I seem to see my grandmother's kind smile. Grandma is the only person in this world who truly cares about me. She is seriously ill and needs a large sum of money for surgery, as well as a suitable bone marrow donor. No one responded. Ethan promised me that he would cover all of Grandma's medical expenses. This was also one of the important reasons why I agreed to marry him in the first place. Grandma, I murmured, losing consciousness. The pungent smell of disinfectant made me frown. Child, it's gone. Ethan sat by the bedside, a trace of fatigue on his face, yet he forced a gentle smile. Olivia, are you awake? How do you feel? I woke up again, this time in the hospital. He handed me a velvet box, opened it, and inside was a sapphire necklace. It was my most hated color, blue. I had clearly told him before that I didn't like blue because it reminded me of that cold, despairing basement. The doctor said your body is very weak and needs proper rest. He put the necklace on me, his movements as gentle as if handling a precious treasure, but on his collar, I smelled a strange scent, belonging to another woman, rich, sweet, and exactly the same as the scent on Chloe. My heart instantly grew cold. His so-called gentleness was nothing more than another carefully orchestrated performance. He glanced at the screen and immediately stood up. There's an urgent matter at the company. I have to go over. You rest well. I'll be back soon. It's Chloe again, isn't it? I said nothing, just quietly watched his hurried figure disappear. After a while, I picked up my phone and opened Instagram. Just then, his phone rang. Sure enough, Chloe had posted a new update. A selfie of her sitting in the passenger seat, captioned, "It's so good to have you here." In the background of the photo was the cushion I had personally embroidered with our initials. Inside Ethan's car, and around her neck, she wore a sapphire necklace identical to mine. It turns out, he was too lazy to even put extra effort into being perfunctory. I stared at that photo and suddenly understood something. Why would he bring Chloe on our wedding anniversary? Why does he keep hurting me again and again because of Chloe? Why did he give me this necklace that I don't like at all? All the clues come together, revealing an absurd and cruel truth. This marriage was a lie from the very beginning. Ethan married me, perhaps only to take revenge. To take revenge on me, the fake heiress who usurped the nest, and to vent for the true Princess Chloe in his heart. And I, like a fool, was toyed within the palm of his hand. I touched my empty belly, where a little life once grew. Our child was also strangled to death by his own hands. Ethan, you are so ruthless. When Ethan returned to the ward again, I calmly proposed a divorce. He was stunned for a moment, then frowned. Olivia, what tantrum are you throwing again? Is it because I didn't keep you company just now? I'm not throwing a tantrum. I looked at him, my gaze colder and more resolute than ever. I'm serious. I can't continue playing this role. Tears silently slid down. He seemed to sense something was wrong with me. His expression darkened. What do you mean? What I mean, I said word by word, is that you married me not because you love me, but to take revenge on Chloe, to get back at me, the so-called imposter, right? He was silent for a moment, then sneered coldly. Since you already know, there's no need for me to keep pretending. Ethan, let's get a divorce. His calmness was like a poisoned dagger, stabbing sharply into my heart. So, from beginning to end, you were lying to me? My voice trembled. Yes, he answered without hesitation. Then why did you propose to me? Then why did you propose to me? Why say those sweet words? My voice was choked with tears. Ethan's pupils suddenly contracted. Because, he leaned close to me, his eyes cold and cruel. Watching you fall from heaven into hell, watching you trust me deeply only to be destroyed by my own hands. That feeling is quite satisfying. I shivered all over, as if I had fallen into an ice cellar. This man, whom I once thought was my salvation, turned out to be my disaster. I'll draft the divorce agreement as soon as possible. I gritted my teeth, holding back tears. Divorce? Ethan suddenly laughed, his laughter full of mockery. Olivia, do you think you get to call the shots in this game? He pulled a small medicine bottle out of his pocket and shook it in front of me. Grandma's special medicine. The latest developed in the US, not yet available domestically. Without this, she won't last a month. I suddenly widened my eyes. Ethan, if you want her to live, then obediently stay by my side and keep playing the role of Mrs. Joe. He put away the medicine bottle, his eyes dark and fierce. Don't even think about playing tricks, or else, I can't guarantee what will happen. He threatened me with Grandma's life. The man I once loved to the bone now made me feel a chilling coldness and disgust. Selfish, cruel, despicable. This is Ethan's true face. I looked at him, and the last trace of affection in my heart vanished completely. Ethan, I said calmly, I will repay every penny you spent on Grandma's medical bills, not a cent less. He raised his eyebrows, seemingly a bit surprised by my reaction. All right, he said with a casual smile, I'll be waiting. He was certain I couldn't come up with that much money. Grandma's illness was like a bottomless pit, having already cost nearly $1 million. As for me, I had long since quit my job to take care of my grandmother, with no source of income, but I will not give up. For my grandmother, and for myself, I began selling off everything I owned, jewelry, bags, and my most treasured paintings. Those paintings are the inspiration and effort I have accumulated little by little. Each one carries my love for life and my longing for the future, but now, they can only turn into cold cash. Even so, the money gathered was still far from the amount Ethan mentioned. Just when I was at my wit's end, my mother suddenly contacted me. Since I married Ethan, she had never reached out to me on her own. I thought she had a change of heart and held on to a ridiculous hope. The call connected, and her voice was as cold as ever. Olivia, don't pursue the matter with Chloe any further. I was stunned. What matter? Ethan already knows that you hired someone to insult Chloe, my mother said with a hint of impatience. Hurry up and divorce Ethan, give your place to Chloe, and stop making a fool of yourself. I didn't hire anyone to insult Chloe. I trembled with anger. She staged the whole thing herself. Enough, Mother interrupted me sharply. Chloe is so kind and innocent. How could she do such a thing? You must be jealous of her to do something so shameless. Kind and innocent? I sneered. Mom, don't you know she's the imposter? I am your biological daughter. I know. Mother's voice was eerily calm. So what? Chloe has been well-behaved and sensible since she was little. Much more likable than you. With your personality, you don't deserve to be my daughter. My heart felt as if it were being pierced by countless needles. I could hardly believe my ears. It turned out, she had known all along. Yet she still chose to side with that imposter. Also, Mother continued, Ethan has already agreed that as long as you are willing to divorce, he will continue to cover your grandmother's medical expenses. This favor was begged for you by Chloe, so don't be ungrateful. There was silence on the other end of the phone for a few seconds. Chloe pleading? What a huge joke. I don't need her fake kindness. I gritted my teeth. I'll find a way to pay Grandma's medical bills myself. You? Mother sneered. With just you? Don't dream. She paused, her tone softening a bit, but still tinged with condescension. That sapphire necklace in your room was a gift from Ethan to Chloe. She doesn't want it now, so consider it compensation for you. Don't be too ungrateful. It's that sapphire necklace again. I looked at the glaring velvet box on the bedside table, feeling nothing but irony. I don't need it, I said coldly, then hung up the phone. I will no longer hold any illusions about them. From now on, I will live only for myself and my grandmother. In order to raise money quickly, I had to put aside my so-called pride. I found a part-time job as a waiter in a bar. The salary wasn't high, but at least it could ease the immediate financial pressure. The bar was awash with dazzling lights and a mix of all kinds of people. Wearing a uniform, I weaved through the noisy crowd carrying drinks. Just as I was delivering drinks to a private room, I unexpectedly heard Ethan's voice. Ethan, did you really marry Olivia just to get back at Chloe? A flippant male voice asked. Or else? Ethan's voice carried a hint of drunkenness and disdain. That kind of woman is only fit to be my plaything for amusement. TSK, brother Ethan, you're really something. Tricking her all around. She deserves it. Ethan sneered coldly. Who told her to take Chloe's place for so many years? My heart felt like it was being brutally stomped on the ground, crushed to pieces. It turns out that, in his heart, I am not even worth a thing. My hand holding the tray of drinks trembled slightly, my nails digging deep into my palm. Just then, the door to the private room suddenly opened. Ethan came out with a few men, and his eyes immediately landed on me. He was momentarily stunned, then a playful smile curled at the corner of his mouth. "Oh, isn't this my esteemed Mrs. Joe? What brings you to a place like this selling wine?" The man beside him laughed along, his eyes leering as they roamed over me. I clenched my teeth against the humiliation, lowering my head and trying to slip past them. Ethan suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Trying to leave?" He leaned close to me, the smell of alcohol hitting my face. "Have a few drinks with me, and I'll let you go." "Ethan, let go of me." I struggled. "What, not willing?" His eyes turned cold as he dragged me into the private room. There were other people in the private room, and seeing this scene, they all showed expressions of anticipation for a good show. "Come on, Olivia, drink this glass of wine." Ethan picked up a glass of wine and handed it to me, his tone commanding. I looked at the glass of wine, my stomach churning. "I won't drink." "Not drinking?" Ethan sneered coldly. "This wine today, whether you drink or not, you have to drink." He grabbed my chin and forcefully poured the wine into my mouth. The spicy liquid made me cough uncontrollably, tears streaming down my face. "Ethan, that's enough." A familiar voice rang out. "It's Liam, Ethan's childhood friend, and also one of the few friends I have." He wanted to step forward to stop it, but I stopped him with a look. "I don't want to implicate him." I snatched the glass of wine from Ethan's hand and drank it all in one gulp. The fiery liquor burned down my throat like a knife. "Can I leave now?" I looked at Ethan, my eyes vacant. Ethan seemed surprised by my decisiveness, froze for a moment, then let go of my hand. I staggered out of the private room, rushed into the bathroom, and leaned on the sink as I vomited violently. My stomach felt like it was burning with fire. I splashed water on my face and looked at my disheveled self in the mirror, suddenly finding it all quite laughable. What exactly am I holding on to? Just as I was about to leave, Ethan followed me. He grabbed me and pulled me into the empty private room next door, locking the door behind us. "Olivia, you've grown bold, huh? How dare you embarrass me in public?" His eyes were dark and fierce, like an enraged lion. "I just want to make money and pay you back," I said coldly. "Pay me back?" He sneered. "Do you think the only thing you owe me is money?" He stepped closer and pinned me against the wall. "You caused Chloe so much suffering. Do you think I would let you off that easily?" "I didn't hurt her," I shouted hoarsely. "Whether you did or not isn't for you to decide." He grabbed my neck, the pressure increasing. "Olivia, I'm telling you, everything I've done to you is still far from enough to make up for the crime you committed against Chloe." A suffocating feeling came over me, and I looked at him in despair. This man has completely lost his mind. Ethan locked me in that dark room again. This time, it was no longer the basement of the villa, but a place completely unfamiliar to me. There was no light in the room, only endless darkness and oppression. I don't know how much time had passed when the door suddenly opened. The ones who came in were Chloe and two men I didn't know. Chloe wore a triumphant smile on her face, her eyes filled with resentment. "Olivia, long time no see." She walked up to me, looking down at me from above. "What do you want?" I looked at her warily. "What do you want?" She sneered coldly. "Of course, to let you taste the suffering I endured back then." She took a hammer from a man and waved it in front of me. 3 years ago, you hired someone to break my leg, almost crippling me. Do you still remember that?" "I didn't," I shouted back. "That was all staged by you." "Whether it was staged or not doesn't matter anymore." Chloe's smile grew even more sinister. "What matters is that today, I'm going to make you taste the same feeling." As she spoke, she raised the hammer in her hand and slammed it hard onto my hand. A sharp pain surged through me, and I screamed in agony, nearly fainting. Blood instantly stained my hands red. "Olivia, do you know? Grandma is already dead." Chloe's voice sounded like the venomous strike of a snake in my ear. I suddenly opened my eyes wide, unable to believe what I was hearing. "Impossible. Ethan promised me he would save her." "Save her?" Chloe sneered. "The day you had the miscarriage, Grandma's bone marrow match had actually succeeded, but Ethan and I deliberately delayed the surgery." "You?" I trembled with anger, unable to speak. "Grandma was dragged to her death." Chloe's voice carried a hint of satisfaction. "And you didn't even see her one last time. It's you. All of it is you." I was furious, wishing I could tear her to pieces. Chloe smiled even more triumphantly. "That's right. It's me. Ethan is willing to do anything for me." She admired my expression of pain and despair, as if watching a brilliant play. "Olivia, you lost. Lost utterly and completely." Agony and despair overwhelmed me like a tide. My vision went black, and I completely lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I was back in the hospital. Ironically, It was the same ward as last time. Ethan sat by the bedside, his face unreadable. My hands were wrapped in thick gauze, and even the slightest movement sent piercing pain through them. My hands, I said hoarsely. They're ruined, Ethan said calmly, as if stating something that had nothing to do with him. Ruined. The hand I once took pride in for painting was ruined just like that. It was Chloe, wasn't it? I asked. Ethan did not deny it. I'm going to call the police. I struggled to get up. Don't waste your effort. Ethan held me back. You have no evidence. And if you dare to call the police, I promise you'll never find out where Grandma is buried. Another threat. Besides threats, what else can he do? I looked at him, my eyes hollow. I closed my eyes, tears silently streaming down. I hate him. I also hate myself. I hate myself for not seeing clearly and falling in love with such a cold-blooded and ruthless demon. After being discharged from the hospital, I returned to that villa once filled with memories, now only cold and empty. I want to pack my things and leave this suffocating place. Ethan didn't stop me. He just gets drunk every night, then holds the painting I once made for him and murmurs to himself. That painting depicts the scene of our first meeting. Under the sunlight, the boy wore a white shirt and black pants, his smile pure and clean. Once upon a time, he was the sunshine in my heart, but now, the sunlight has long been swallowed by dark clouds. One night, he stumbled drunkenly into my room, trying to hold me back. Olivia, don't go, stay. He held on to my leg, crying like a child. I looked at him, feeling not a single ripple in my heart. Ethan, I coldly pushed him away. It's long over between us. He seemed provoked by my indifference, suddenly lifting his head, his eyes turning fierce. Have you already been involved with Liam for a long time? He accused me, his tone full of jealousy and unwillingness. So what if I have? So what if I haven't? I looked at him calmly. This has nothing to do with you anymore. I took out the divorce agreement I had prepared long ago from the drawer and threw it in front of him. Ethan looked at the divorce agreement, his eyes filled with complexity. He suddenly laughed, a bitter laugh. Olivia, do you think I would let you go so easily? He tore up the divorce agreement. There is no greater sorrow than a heart that has died. Want a divorce? Fine. He stood up, looking down at me from above. Pay me back every penny I spent on you and your grandmother, not a cent less. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving me. This man has already gone to any lengths to keep me. Okay, I nodded. I will pay you back. I'm too lazy to explain. Isn't it just money? Olivia, even if my hands are useless, will never be defeated by a little money. Sign it. Liam helped me find my grandmother's grave. In a remote cemetery. The tombstone was simple, without even a photo. I knelt before my grandmother's grave, crying uncontrollably. Grandma, I'm sorry. Your granddaughter was unfilial, unable to let you enjoy your old age in peace, and even caused you trouble. I looked at him and suddenly found it all very laughable. I cried for a long time, until my throat was hoarse and my tears ran dry. I want to let go of resentment and live for myself, and also live for Grandma. I want those who have hurt me to pay the price they deserve. First, I need to pay back the money I owe Ethan. I sold everything I could, but I was still short a large sum. I thought of the painting I gave to Ethan. It was the piece I put the most effort into, and it used to be his favorite. Perhaps, I could sell it for a good price. I contacted Liam and asked him to help find a buyer. After crying, my heart felt much calmer. The painting is still with Ethan. I have to go back for a visit. I arrived at the villa, but Ethan was not there. I walked straight into his study, and the painting hung in the most prominent spot. I reached out to take the painting when Ethan's voice suddenly came from behind me. Are you going to sell it? His voice was hoarse, carrying a faint, barely noticeable pain. I didn't turn around. Yes, Olivia. He came over and hugged me from behind, his tone pleading. Please don't sell, okay? I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Let go of me, I said coldly. My feelings for Chloe are just like siblings. The one I love has always been you. He buried his head in the hollow of my neck. His voice choked. I was the jerk before, blinded by hatred. Please give me one more chance, okay? Sibling feelings? If it were just sibling affection, would he hurt me like that for Chloe? If it were just sibling affection, would he stand by and watch Chloe cripple my hands? Ethan, I pushed him away, my eyes cold. It's too late. My heart had long since died from one wound after another. Ethan looked at me with a resolute gaze and suddenly burst into a wild laugh. He rushed to the painting, tore it down in one grab, and then took out a lighter. Since you refuse to forgive me, then let's destroy ourselves together. The flames leapt up, instantly engulfing the canvas. It also devoured the last ridiculous illusion I had of him. What a huge joke. What he burned was not just a painting, but also the passionate love I once had for him. The firelight cast shadows on his twisted face, making it look especially grotesque. He put me under house arrest. Every day, he tries to move me with the tenderness of the past. He cooks the dishes I like, tells me the jokes I enjoy, and even places my favorite lilies by my bedside. But I, like a soulless puppet, numbingly accept everything from him. My heart will no longer stir for him in any way. He also suggested that we take wedding photos together. When we got married, for various reasons, we didn't take wedding photos. This was once a regret of mine, but now, I only feel irony. On the day we took our wedding photos, I wore a pure white wedding dress, my face adorned with delicate makeup, but my eyes were as hollow as a stagnant pool. Ethan, dressed in a sharp suit, tried to take my hand, but I dodged away. A flicker of hurt flashed in his eyes, but he quickly regained his smile. Just as the photographer was about to press the shutter, Liam suddenly rushed in. Olivia, he called my name anxiously. Ethan's face darkened. Liam, what do you want? Ethan, you bastard. Liam pointed at Ethan's nose and cursed. You've done so many terrible things to Olivia, and now you want to tie her to you like this? In your dreams. Ethan and Liam wrestled with each other. I watched them, feeling a calmness in my heart. Liam was knocked to the ground, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, yet he still struggled to get up. Olivia, come with me. He reached out his hand to me. I looked at him, then glanced at Ethan again. Then, without hesitation, I walked towards Liam. Ethan was stunned. He didn't expect me to choose Liam. Olivia, he shouted, his voice filled with unwillingness and despair. Just as I was about to leave with Liam, Ethan's phone rang. He answered the call, and his expression changed instantly. What? Chloe tried to kill herself by cutting her wrists? He glanced at me, his eyes filled with complexity. Then, without hesitation, he turned around and rushed out. Once again, he left me behind for Chloe. My heart felt as if it was being tightly gripped by an invisible hand, aching so much I could barely breathe. This time, it was truly the end. I watched his hurried retreating figure, a mocking smile curling at the corner of my mouth. I did not look back. Ethan, you are always like this, always putting Chloe first. Since that's the case, let's end this completely. I plan to leave this city and start a new life. But on the night before I was about to leave, I was kidnapped by Chloe. She took me to an abandoned factory. Chloe looked somewhat insane, her eyes filled with resentment and unwillingness. Olivia, do you think you've won? She shouted at me hysterically. Ethan is mine. He will always be mine. Is that so? I looked at her calmly, but he told me himself that the one he loves is me. To you, he only feels sibling affection. Chloe was stunned, then burst into a crazy laugh. You're lying to me. How could Ethan possibly fall in love with a woman like you? He not only loves me, I continued to provoke her. He even knelt down and begged me not to leave him. He said he loved me so much he was about to go crazy. These words were half true, half false. Ethan did say he loved me, and he did beg me, but I knew these words were enough to break down Chloe's last psychological defense. As expected, Chloe broke down. She roared and cried like a wild beast gone mad. Then, she grabbed a bucket of gasoline and doused me with it. The acrid smell of gasoline instantly filled the air. She took out a lighter, her eyes wild. Olivia, I will make you die. Make you disappear completely. I looked at her calmly, without a trace of fear in my heart. Death, perhaps, is a kind of relief for me. I closed my eyes, reflecting on this brief and ridiculous life. If I could start over, I would never fall in love with Ethan again. A loud bang. I thought it was the sound of a lighter igniting. Unexpectedly, the lighter in Chloe's hand slipped and fell to the ground, misfiring due to her excitement. The flame did not ignite the gasoline on me, but it did ignite the flammable materials piled nearby. The fire spread instantly. Thick smoke billowed, and the flame soared into the sky. I looked at the panicked Chloe, a cold smile curling at the corner of my mouth. Heaven will not forsake me. I took advantage of the chaos to break free from the ropes, created even greater disorder, and then seized the opportunity to escape through a hidden exit. Behind me, a raging fire blazed, accompanied by Chloe's desperate screams. By the time Ethan arrived, the fire was already out of control. He saw Chloe standing outside the fire scene and rushed over like a madman. "Where is Olivia? Where is Olivia?" He grabbed Chloe's shoulders and shook her hard. Chloe's eyes were vacant as she murmured, "Burned to death." Olivia was burned to ashes. Ethan was struck as if by lightning, his whole body frozen. He staggered back a few steps, his eyes hollow, filled with despair and disbelief. "No, impossible," he shouted, trying to rush into the fire. The firefighters held him back tightly. "Sir, it's too dangerous inside. You can't go in." Ethan struggled desperately like a trapped beast, roaring. In the end, he collapsed to the ground, letting out a beast-like wail. I hid in the shadows, watching it all coldly. There was not a trace of joy in my heart, nor a hint of pity. Everything was over. I attended my own funeral. As a stranger, Ethan's hair turned white overnight, and he became completely despondent. Every day, he clung to the remnants of my burned painting, drowning his sorrows in alcohol, wasting away to skin and bones. Mother cried until she lost her sight, washing her face with tears all day long. At the funeral, Ethan forced Chloe to kneel and kowtow to me, his eyes filled with resentment and regret. Later, I heard that my parents sued Chloe. She was sentenced for intentional injury and arson. Seeing them in such pain, I suddenly felt that everything was meaningless. Their regret, their love. To me, it was already too late. I choose to forgive myself for the foolishness and stubborn ignorance of the past. Then, I left that city and began my new life. The end of the story. Zhou Jing's monologue can be replaced with a curse, adjusted according to the overall style. "Olivia, my Olivia, where are you? I've searched the whole world. Why still can't find you? Do you really hate me that much? Hate me so much that you won't even see me one last time? If time could be reversed, I definitely wouldn't let go of your hand again. But there is no if anymore, none at all." He held the charred painting, curled up in a cold corner, like an abandoned dog. The sunlight outside the window could no longer shine into his heart that had long since died. He will live forever in the regret and loneliness of losing me, until the end of his life. This, perhaps, is the cruelest punishment for him.